Candace Owens, as we talked about earlier this week, is going to Russia. She said, we're going to Russia because as a Christian, I want to see the buildings. And my husband wants to go fishing. But we all know that Alexander Dugin's in Russia because you just don't go to Russia just to go to Russia. Very few people do that, especially in this time and age where Russia's at war with Ukraine. That just doesn't make sense. Like the whole Western world is supposed to be anti-Russia right now. And the influencers have been very anti-Russia. These are the people all supporting the Ukraine war. So, but Candace announces she's going. And so what do we say? We say, oh, wow, well, makes kind of sense that maybe she's meeting with Dugin. Well, of course, she's like, no, that's not at all what I'm doing. Well, now we found out she is going to be a speaker at a conference over there, which is connected to Dugin people. Check this out. So the moderator of this conference, Maria Sittel, chairperson, Union of Women of Russia, women of the Civic Chamber of the Russian Federation, and then all these other people. And then look at this. Hey, Candace Owens, anchor, host of the Candace podcast. Wow, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? Well, with all this going on, what do we have last week? They announced they're going after looking in the foreign influence on these people. Here's Candace, looking like she's maybe getting a little nervous.
Happy 6 million subscribers. We did it. I'm so proud. I really am. Without a single dollar spent on advertising. $0. That's actually just an incredible feat. No outside investors, no secret funding from foreign countries, no influencers, influential campaigns. Although there were a lot of influencers that were against us. Essentially, the entire Western media apparatus has been attacking us incessantly. They said it couldn't be done, right? Everybody has to sell out to somebody. That's been the general idea. No one makes it in this town without pledging allegiance to Israel every day. Happy 6 million.
So Candace has to make a whole speech about how she has no backing, no advertising. The whole media is against her. I find that hilarious, by the way. I feel like many people. What did we just see the Bulwark say yesterday? Candace Owens is being whispered about for president. She's being lionized. The Megyn Kelly speaking well of her. Tucker Carlson speaking well of her. I mean, really? Like, this is not. Guess who she had on yesterday before she left to Russia? Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks. And they're just sitting around chumming it up, bashing on Israel, hating Israel, talking about how pro-life conservatives are terrible people. Yeah, it was a fascinating thing. This is crazy. This woman is insane. She's just absolutely lying. But funny she puts out this message right as people are looking into her, right before she goes to Russia. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Oh, and then we got Jackson Hinkle, who most of you don't know who Jackson Hinkle is, and why would you? But he's huge on X, 3.8 million followers. He's got his own, he's got quite the following. And what does he have to come out with yesterday? Candace Owens accused of being a Russian agent by Loomer and Fuentes. Yeah, he runs a whole show defending Candace. But Candace, I thought the whole Western establishment of media was against you. It's funny how that doesn't add up. It never adds up with Candace because all she does is lie. She is awful. Well, joining her in Russia, just to show you how awful she is, look who's joining her. We have, I'll just read it because the post is kind of weird. Andrei Bezrukov, who was arrested as a deep cover Russian spy in the U.S. in 2010. Interesting. Oh, and Scott Ritter. Yes, Scott Ritter, the convicted pedophile who is out there as a military expert, who we laughed at on my show 2 months ago for coming out and telling everybody that Iran's got the super duper secret weapons and Trump has no idea what he's getting into and they're going to bomb the crap out of us. Iran is such a sleeping giant. You have no idea what you have unleashed, Donald Trump. This guy is grifter to the max. Scott Ritter, former UN inspector and convicted pedophile under FBI investigation for illegally acting as a foreign agent of Russia. constantly appears on anti-American media platforms, declare victory is imminent for Russia, Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah, roots for the U.S., Israel, and West to be defeated. Just like Alexander Dugin. Huh? Oh, that's funny. How's that work? That's amazing. Huh? Hey, you kind of once you see it, you can't unsee it, huh, folks? Isn't that crazy? During one of the trips to Russia, he gave a rousing speech for Russian Chechen troops waging war in Ukraine. The Chechens are led by pro-Putin Islamist Ramzan Kadyrov. The devoutly Christian Putin and Russian Orthodox Church Moscow endorse, and now this is just not true of Putin, but see, a lot of these people get caught up in the whole Putin is always guilty by association as well. There's a faction within Russia that's actually working with the globalists, but we'll talk about that another day, just like I spoke on Dugin. Now, speaking of the Dugin influence, these people all run off to Russia. Well, here's Stu Peters. Is anybody still listening to Stu Peters? What's wrong with you? This guy's a total fraud, but again, just to show you, he has Dugin on his show, just to show you how Dugin is influencing all of them. All of them. Every single one of these MAGA pro-Trump influencers who've now completely swapped over, who act as if they're the true MAGA, they're the true America First. Why is Dugin supporting all of them? Why are they all having Dugin on their show? Why are they going to Russia to meet with Dugin? I think it makes sense once you look at it from this perspective. I don't know, but it just gets crazier and crazier. Now, we got Megyn Kelly, who went on Sean Ryan, because, good old Sean Ryan. I have a lot of people, whenever I show Sean Ryan stuff, they just can't believe it. I have people that get mad at me. Sean Ryan's a patriot. You don't know what you're talking about. I watch his show all the time. It's like, well, have you looked at his social media posts? Because he's spouting exactly what these people are spouting. Well, he has Megyn Kelly on, and they're spouting the whole grift about Joe Kent. And listen to this.
I admire Joe Kent, and I'm grateful that he made a point when he left of saying why. But I personally would much rather have him on the inside. I don't know what Joe Kent has leaked and hasn't leaked. He's never leaked to me. He told me he's never leaked. But I would say it's not bad to have people in those positions in a position where they could potentially get something out to the media, something that's knowledgeable and informed and real.
What?
So that we can pursue avenues that the administration won't. That's how the media and the government has worked synergistically since the dawn of time.
What? So she's admitting that if Joe Kent's a leaker, it's better for him to be in there. It's great to leak out state secrets. It's great to... Why is it always the bad people, the bad administrations who leak the most? You ever wonder about that? The Obama administration leaked like crazy. The Biden administration leaked like crazy. The Bush administration. I mean, just look throughout our history. The deep state are the ones who like to leak the most, because they're not actually working on our behalf. They're not actually trying to win anything other than their dominance. They want the people to hate their government. They want the people to distrust. They want the people to believe like the narratives about well, some of it is true. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending everything our government's done. Okay. And there's been some cases where you could say it's been heroic. I'm not the person who says our government should never be leaked on, but it is without a doubt factual that the worst administrations leak the most. They do it on purpose because they're playing a game with the media. And usually what the bad administrations do, they leak in order to get the media on their side, producing narratives so that they can get away with what they want to do. That's why they usually leak. And the media is used to getting all that. And they're also used to having subversives in a government when it is finally somebody fighting for us, like Donald Trump. They like to get the subversives who will leak so that the media can then push the narrative forward to hurt the Trump administration ahead of what they're doing, to put a narrative on it before the Trump administration gets to do what it does. This happened all the time in the first Trump administration, a lot. And in this term, the media is very mad they're not getting that info, because without it, they're nothing. When the media can't, control narratives, they have no real power anymore, at least not in the way they used to. There's a new media that's actually reporting facts and actually like giving real understanding of what's going on to the best of our ability. That media is wonderful and rising, and there's a few good ones out there. But the old media, they got their whole grift off getting this information fed to them. And now they're mad. They're big mad about it. And to them, Joe Kent's a hero because he was leaking. Now, Megan says she never leaked to him. Fine. Or to her. Fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I can almost guarantee you he was leaking to Tucker. And I feel like that is we don't have the smoking gun on that, but I think it's pretty obvious. Now, Buzz Patterson put this out. So Massie and MTG are hanging out in Costa Rica. Yeah. So what's Massie, that principled congressman, his first rule of order after getting his butt whooped? He runs off to another country to go fishing and swimming with Marjorie Taylor Greene in her $5 million Costa Rican mansion. That's America first, baby. What's more America first than that? Now, the funniest thing is Buzz saying they're banging each other, aren't they? Well, they both are known to have sordid sexual pasts, to say the least. But, who knows? But I do think it's funny. Now, Massie, some stuff is coming out about Massie that's really interesting. This old post surfaced. And Massie, he's big mad about people calling out his funding, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But, he, despite being linked to all these Iranians, despite being linked to Jeff Yass, well, someone else linked him to a Rockefeller heir, George O'Neill, known publicly from the Russia hoax, donated to Thomas Massie. We have him right here. You can see George O'Neill, Rockefeller heir, gun nut, serial abuser of women and children, sexual deviant, big fan of Putin. I always got to put that in there. Well, look at this. He also present at this planning, right-wing scion and Rockefeller heir George O'Neill hosted private dinner at the National Prayer Breakfast in D.C., attended by Erickson and Butina's boss, Russian central bank head Alexander Dugin. Also present, former and current Russian officials, U.S. Republicans and conservatives, including 2 congressmen, Dana Rohrabacher of California and Thomas Massie of Kentucky. This goes all the way back to, what was this, 2017? And then we have O'Neill. Lots of contributions right here. These are all contributions to one Thomas Massie. Yeah, it just keeps on winding for him, this principled man. None of us are supposed to think otherwise of. And Massie is big mad about his funds getting out there. See, here's what I've shown you guys before, all the donations from this Maruk family. And, you got all the leftists that they donated to, Ilhan Omar, et cetera, and Massie's finally responding. Oh, wow, a family that donates to candidates opposed to genocide in Gaza. That's really it, huh, Massie? Massie's he's really trying to save his career. Even though he lost his House seat, he's already applied to run in 2028. So got to keep that funding going. And now now that he knows he's out, he's really going into cleanup mode. He's terrified that this stuff is out there, and he's trying to reframe it. Unfortunately, Massie, what you just did was even worse. You admitted you're getting the funds from these people. And when you're getting the funds from the same people as the squad, yeah, that doesn't look good no matter how you frame it, my friend. It just doesn't. So this is a great post breaking down a lot of what's going on right now with all these people. So map the network. You'll find vast and didn't start in 26. For over a decade, this is about the FAGA influencers, fake MAGA. For over a decade, this ecosystem consistently pushed narratives and policies aligned with Russian geopolitical interests. I would say globalists, but some people just haven't finally gotten to that next level yet, right? It took me a while. I used to see the surface level stuff a lot easier, but once you see the City of London system and all of it and how they use the Russian propaganda part, like Russia with Trump, and how they have navigated all that, it makes, you can always say like, oh no, this is all going back to the City of London. But anyways, this is where a lot of people still are. Doesn't mean this is a bad post though. While packaging as liberty, anti-war, anti-establishment politics, people LARPing as libertarian constitutionalists, and this is one of the big tells, it's City of London. Libertarian as an ideology was created by MI6 in the early 1900s. Constitutionalists while peddling anti-American state-sponsored propaganda. Ron Paul and Paul Institute, look into the board. Massie, Alex Jones, Dugin, RT, Maria Butina, Patrick Byrne. Now that's an interesting one. And we'll have to have a discussion about Patrick Byrne at some point. Alex Jones platforming Ron Paul for 2 decades. RT has been cheerleading Ron Paul for more than a decade. Russian agent Maria Butina infiltrated NRA political circles. Massie was there. Patrick Byrne admitted former CIA had a relationship with her. For funsies, here's Massie's voting record. Voted against Russia's sanctions. Lone House vote against rejecting Crimea annexation. Vote against Ukraine sovereignty resolutions. Opposed NATO expansion. Defended Butina after arrest. Now again, we'll get into all that at our time. If you've been watching my show long enough, you can navigate all this stuff. But the point is that it's not just Russia. Okay. It's also the anti-American stuff. All right. The anti-Trump stuff. I don't care if they're being blackmailed. I don't care if they're sold out for money. I don't care if they're soulless and simply hate America. My grandfathers didn't fight wars protecting the U.S. from evil for me to sit back and hand everything. So, but here's Massie, Kremlin-friendly member of the House. They're just all attached. And then here's the Rockefeller post down here. So again, it's they say Russia, I say Dugin. And I told you guys how that differentiates the other day. But regardless, it's not good for us. Now, it's getting so bad. Ian Carroll is starting to spin a different tune. But first of all, a good reminder from last year. You remember when Ian Carroll, who is one of the biggest frauds of all, went on Rogan? Well, he went on Rogan and he had a lot of stuff to say. But then he admitted to Myron Gaines that he went on Rogan to push a psyop. Listen to this.
Because a significant amount of the interview, you guys just talked different theories, just shooting the stuff. You guys didn't really talk about Israel or any of that other stuff until like
we
the
talked
last
about
20.
Epstein a few times, kind of like glance through and back out and glance through and back out. And I think we were kind of just establishing a baseline a little bit, but also just kind of jumping around through conspiracy theories. It's not like we didn't have any discussion beforehand what we were and weren't going to talk about. Just like any podcast, I think people have all these conspiracy theories that like podcasts are scripted and podcasts are like, and that it's like, that's not how it is at all. You literally just show up, sit down, crack a beer, and sparkling, and just start talking. Yeah. But it was during the Epstein stuff, and so it was like all of my content at the time was about Epstein, and so it was kind of obvious that we were gonna talk about Epstein at least a little bit. And we kind of held off on talking about Israel until much later, but there's like a certain point like near the end where he just kind of like left an open question. And I wasn't going to not talk about Israel with the opportunity there. And I intentionally tried to do it in a very like moderate and normie and kind of like balanced way that wasn't super hard in, because that's the audience and that's like the right way to do it in that setting. When you're talking to people that might have no context or very little context or very mainstream context, you want to just kind of give them a very balanced starter pack of what's going on here, things that they can look up for themselves, things that they can corroborate and kind of get to asking their own questions. So I was super proud of how it came out. And it was wild how many like conspiracy theories and opinions and haters came out of the woodwork because of it.
Oh, yeah. So interesting how he's like, I had to wait for the opportunity and then I had to get Israel in. I just thought that's interesting. It tells you how these people think. They give you little glimpses sometimes into what they're actually doing. But the point is like, we're talking about all this stuff, Epstein, everything on Rogan, and then he left the open door and I took it for Israel. It's all about seeding those narratives, folks. And he had to do it on Rogan, which is the biggest podcast audience in the world. And what's happened since then? The last year, we've had this explosion of the Israel stuff. I mean, when it's people like that pushing it, and Myron Gaines too, he's total trash. When these people are telling you what they do, you listen. They give you glimpses. Now, Fuentes, he's been starting to call out the foreign influence on Candace and Tucker. Listen to this. We're not going to listen to this whole thing, but this is very interesting. I'll talk about it after we listen for a minute here.
We used to talk a lot more about this last year, but this is something you need to understand. I'm not saying I know for a fact that Candace is in on something or anything like that. I'm just saying this is generally true. All of these big influencers, you have to suspect that they are involved with foreign governments in some capacity.
Now, why is Nick doing this now? He's one of them. He's saying and pushing the exact same narratives these people are pushing. So why would Nick start turning on them? I mean, there's a couple of things I could think of. Number one, Nick might be jealous. They've been growing in their influence and they've been pushing him out. There might be a jealousy factor there. There also might be a usefulness factor. Nick's like, maybe he's getting word they're not as useful anymore because they're being outed. Maybe Nick got the word. Hey man, people aren't paying attention to you as much anymore. We're not funding you anymore, or we're not. And so he's going all out. The point is this is a red flag for the influencer phagosphere, that bad things are coming if they're starting to attack their own. We can't say exactly why yet, but this is the beginning of something. This is only going to keep happening. But it's very interesting. Calls out Tucker. Remember, Tucker had him on his show. Tucker gave Nick the most influence ever. And then Tucker started talking like Nick a couple months later. And then he started putting Nick throwing him under the bus. Nick has gone on Crowder. He's gone on, did he go on Sean Ryan? I can't remember. But he's been on a bunch of other shows now that brought him up bigger than ever. And now they're all fighting with each other. It's very interesting. So, Candace has dealings with John Mappin as well as Dugin. But it's, the other thing is this whole, is Farah coming back to investigate the foreign influence? And is Nick trying to get ahead of it so that they don't look at him as much? We don't know. But all I can tell you is it's not good in Fagaland. It's disintegrating. Things are getting bad for them. They keep making many mistakes. They keep showing us who they are, and the mask is off, and we're never going back. And this is a very good thing, because people like Candace Owens are the reason this stuff's starting to happen. There was a planned assassination attempt against Erica Kirk just the other day. April 26th, Facebook comment on a post about the event. This attacker said, "I know exactly where to bomb. I can't wait to be the valet for her escort." Wrote a January 26th email that said, "Death to Erica Kirk and every single speaker there. America will live on without those scum on this earth. Every Christian nationalist shall perish in the bombing shall take place at every single Turning Point rally and event." He was supposed to attack during TPUSA's Women's Leadership Summit featuring Erica Kirk, but they caught him. They caught him planning this. This is what Candace Owens is creating, and others like her. We can all have real discussions about this stuff, but without actual proof and evidence, we're creating these kind of issues. Now, obviously, I'm never one to say, we should take out these people. I'm not accusing Candace Owens of murder, anything like that. I would never do that. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I want them to be investigated. I want them to go, to prison if they need to. I want this whole thing to be exposed if they're frauds. I want to see where their funding comes from. Absolutely. But I would never push the kind of craziness that Candace Owens does on somebody when she doesn't have the goods. That's insane. And this is the kind of stuff that's evil, and it's the left-wing tactics, guys, because then they throw out all this hate and nonsense. They build up people like this who will actually do terrible things, and then they can sit back and say, "Whoa, I never meant for that to happen." When the entire time they'll just completely defame and deface people. We've had attacks on Trump, obviously, an attack recorded on J.D. Vance that they stopped in time. Russ Vogt. We have Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Stephen Miller, many others, all living on military bases because they can't safely live in their own homes right now. This is what they want, guys, because they're losing. And so when they're losing and they can't beat you at the ballot box, they can't beat you in the war of ideas, they get violent. And it's ramping up now, even to people like Erica Kirk. So just a reminder. But here's the other sign. Things are getting really bad for them. Ian Carroll is now starting to back up and getting away from the doomerism of conspiracies. Let's not dwell on evil. They're trying to shift narratives, guys, because they realize it's been falling apart for them. Let's listen to a minute of this.
The piece that I keep on circling on that I think is really inspirational, that I'm sort of taking to heart as like a mantra, holding with me all the time, is this shifting away from the doomerism of the pessimism of looking at all these conspiracies and looking at how fucked up the world is, just looking for optimism and good stories. I mean, every dark story has a light side, and every fucked up thing that's going on has silver linings and good truth to be found, good stories to be told.
Now, that's something I've been saying since the day I started my channel. You know, because it's natural. You can only do it naturally. You have to actually believe it to pull it off. And, you know, when a guy like this, who's been peddling this crap for 3-4 years now since he first came on the scene, out of nowhere, by the way, just came out attacking Israel, going after the Trump administration. There's no hope, anything, peddling Whitney Webb conspiracy, stole most of his work from her, and just all in line with the same people, the Fuentes types, all that kind of stuff. After all this time, now all of a sudden he's seen the light. Yeah, I don't believe it. I think what's happening is they're noticing it's falling apart for them. It's falling apart for them, and they're trying to shift the narrative now and win their way back. You see, doomerism only holds influence for so long because people get sick of it. And if you're going to be dooming, if you're going to be negative all the time, you better be right, because people get tired of being lied to all the time, and then the bad thing you predicted never happens, and you always got to make excuses for why it didn't happen. You know, 86% of things people worry about don't happen. Yeah, that's what we're witnessing here, is that the nonstop spin of how terrible the Trump administration is and how they're all the part of the globalists and the technocrats and there's just no hope and we've lied to again. It's all falling apart on them. And they're noticing it. Now they're going to try to weed their way back. At least some of them are. We have Fuentes turning against Tucker and Candace and others. We have Ian Carroll saying now he's seen the light. Yeah. Don't buy it for a second, folks. These are all doing it at the same time, making these shifts. It just, I mean, what else do you need to see? The grift is over. The grift is falling apart, and they really are looking for a new home. Meanwhile, people like me and others like me, Rich Does Politics, those who've actually been looking for solutions the whole time and seeing how it's possible to win and seeing how we can win and are winning in many times, guess what? We don't have to change. We get to keep being honest and open and forthright and just be like, we're being ourselves. I've been here for 3.5 years doing this show. There are people here watching right now who have been watching me this entire time. Every single one of them will tell you, I have never wavered. I've never changed. I've never gone back. Never said, never had to lie about a story I brought up, because you just don't have to do that when you're telling the truth and when you actually can look through the lens of hope, abundance, expectancy. And that's the only way to do it, guys. It's the only way to do it forever. Just like Rush Limbaugh taught us all. And that's why he was the king. All these doomer types, they're always the globalists. They're always on the left, or they pretend to be on the right. They always fall, and this is why, because you can only lie for so long, and then you have to have an epiphany and try to change so you can bring people back in. But we're not buying it.